Hi, I'm Kobe Henderson, and this is my nephew, Bruce. I just have a really quick question. Do you want to give this baby polio? If your answer is no, then you should push for mandatory vaccines. So, what are vaccines? Vaccines are substances injected into the human body, typically consisting of dead or weak viruses, meant to stimulate the production of antibodies, which can protect from a number of different, potentially deadly diseases.
So, why are vaccines important? Well, since the invention of vaccines, deadly diseases such as polio and smallpox have been almost completely eradicated, and the infection rates of many more, such as the measles, mumps, and whooping cough, have consistently been on the decline.
So let's go into the history of vaccines. Inoculation has been traced back to 10th century China. The earliest documented examples of vaccination are from India and China in the 17th century, where vaccination with powdered scabs from people infected with smallpox was used to protect against the disease. Since then, many other diseases have had vaccinations made for them, such as smallpox, measles, mumps, hepatitis A and B, chickenpox, meningitis, pneumonia, and more.
My name's Colby Pratt, and this is Macy Leanne Pratt. She's my baby sister, and she goes to Disneyland. The happiest place on earth. But is it still safe?
It's a town, it's Palos Verdes, but there's, I think, a kindergarten class where 25% of the kids actually were not vaccinated, and there's been outbreaks of measles, mumps, and rubella, not just in Southern California, but all over the country, and especially Western developed areas where they haven't been vaccinating. So, just to stress the importance of vaccine. And at this point now, with like 25% of an area, you lose that herd immunity now. So therefore, you need, you can have major outbreaks or epidemics at that point. So anyways, that was just one statistic that I felt I'd share with you guys.
So what are the economic benefits of vaccination? Well, medical costs and medical bills are extremely high. If you don't contract the disease, you don't have to pay those bills. And vaccines promote savings and investments as people live longer and expect more out of life.
How is the federal government involved with vaccines? The federal government can only make recommendations for vaccination through the CDC, but state governments can make laws mandating vaccination. All states provide exemptions for medical reasons, and some states offer exemptions for religious or philosophical reasons as well.
In 1905, a case was brought to the Supreme Court known as Jacobson versus Massachusetts, where the court upheld state laws mandating vaccination, saying that some individual freedoms must be given up to protect the common welfare.
Many special interest groups exist supporting both sides of the argument. They primarily use their influence to fund research and educate the public on vaccines and their effects.
As one expert put it, measles has a way of finding people who aren't vaccinated. This past spring, 50 children in an Orthodox Jewish community in Brooklyn got the measles. None of them had been vaccinated. Concerns about the vaccine being linked to autism drove vaccination rates down to 57%.
As parents, we need to be a whole lot more serious about this, and you don't take the word of the guy that's trying to give the shot about what's good and what isn't.
We've had a few families that have been affected by this, and so we want to shut this thing down.
More than a few. 16 cases of the measles originated at the church, including 7 adults and 9 children.
See, the thing about doctors is they didn't learn about the human body from their friend's Facebook page. They went to medical school where they studied all sorts of amazing things, like how to magically prevent children from contracting horrible diseases by giving them a little shot. You know those little shots of Botox? Which is botulism, by the way. You get in your face to make your head look smooth and your eyes look crazy? A little shot like that and poof, polio is gone. Here in LA, there are schools in which 20% of the students aren't vaccinated because parents here are more scared of gluten than they are of smallpox.
There are many reasons why people oppose mandatory vaccinations. The first claim is that numerous studies prove that vaccines may trigger problems like autism, ADHD, and diabetes.
No. According to the Journal of American Medical Association, consistent with studies in other populations, we observed no association between MMR vaccinations and increased ASD risk among privately insured children.
Another claim is that vaccines may trigger problems like autism.
That Arschloch!
This is a common misconception. The Autism Society states that, in many families, there appears to be a pattern of autism or related disabilities, further supporting the theory that the disorder has a genetic basis.
There have also been 9 CDC-conducted studies proving there is no relation between vaccines and autism.
I am a doctor.
I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor.
And I believe in vaccinations.
And I believe in vaccinations.
If you don't vaccinate your kids, it can endanger their lives.
The potential downsides of vaccinations are almost non-existent.
The cumulative scientific and medical communities are in absolute full agreement
that there is basically no reason not to vaccinate your kids.
No reason.
Which is why I cannot believe we have to make this PSA.
In the 1920s, before the diphtheria vaccination was common, there were 13 to 15,000 deaths a year from that disease. If you got it, your chances of dying were about 40%. In 1952, just before the Salk vaccine became common, there were about 58,000 cases of polio. If you get unlucky, you might end up permanently disabled or dead. Meningitis, hepatitis A and B, flu, mumps, whooping cough, pneumonia, rotavirus, rubella, smallpox, tetanus, chickenpox. Chickenpox. We have vaccinations against all of them. Which side do you want your child to stand on?
Some opponents claim that vaccines are unnatural, and natural immunity is more effective than vaccination.
Well, studies conducted by the CDC have found that the rate of infection caused by many diseases have fallen by 72 to 100% since vaccines became commonly used.
Some opponents to vaccines claim that government should not intervene in personal medical choices.
Many people, such as those with HIV and people undergoing chemotherapy, cannot take vaccines and depend on herd immunity to stay healthy. This personal choice has the potential to seriously harm others.
This is stupid.
Get your kids vaccinated.
Get your kids vaccinated.
Get your kids vaccinated.
Good afternoon, I'm Nancy Cole. I'm a physician assistant, and I absolutely believe that vaccinations are important. There are many of the diseases that we can prevent easily with vaccinations can have some major health, can cause major health problems of their own. Things as simple as scarring to much more serious conditions. So get your vaccinations and get them now.
So, for society, for mankind, for this baby, and all babies, please push for mandatory vaccinations. Thank you.